Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo. We are back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And of course, I am joined by the $1 Million Man himself, the Hall of Famer, the guy who's about to be in Indianapolis for Squared Circle Expo. It's the $1 Million Man,
right.
Ted DiBiase.
Man, all you wrestling fans that are in the Indianapolis area, I hope you turned out. I think I've been to this event once before, and I mean, this is all wrestlers. I think Jake's there. I haven't talked to Jake, but I think Jake's. I mean, I think anybody that's been anybody in wrestling is going to be at this event. I really do. I mean, because it's not like a Comic-Con. I guess it might be like in terms of, but what it is, it's all wrestling. So everybody there that's signing autographs has either been a wrestler, a manager, or whatever, referee.
Man, it is going to be a hell of an event. You go to Squared Circle X, the letter X, squaredcirclex.com to get details and tickets. You're going to want to be there. Ted said it. I know that Jim Duggan's going to be there as well. Arn Anderson and Brock Anderson are going to be there as well.
Yeah,
so, I mean, this is a huge, huge event. You guys definitely want to be part of it. And then next weekend, we're all going to be in Philly. It's WrestleMania and it's WrestleCon.
It is WrestleCon. So 2 big weekends coming up. Yeah, and what's that mean for Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man? Show me the money, honey.
As you know, I'll be your new Virgil out there. I'm coming out with like a sleeveless tuxedo, so we'll make the most of the situation. Guys, you definitely want to be part of it. It's WrestleCon.com. Check out the tickets for that. It'll be a blast. And WrestleMania is coming up here fast. But this time around, Ted, we're talking about something that I think is really significant because your buddy, as we've discussed before, Mike Rotunda, is going into the WWE Hall of Fame next week. And so I thought, hey, this is the perfect time for us to continue the story of Money Inc. with part 2 of that. Man, very well deserved. Mike is such a great performer, isn't he?
Yeah, and I just wonder. I'm looking down the road now. Didn't they induct all of the Freebirds?
They did induct all the Freebirds. They inducted all of DX. They inducted all of the NWO. So I mean, I think that there's room for another $1 Million Man.
I was with the NWO.
You know what? Did you get an extra ring? You were part of the NWO.
No, I didn't.
Now wait just a minute. That is not right.
Well, maybe it's because I didn't stay with them very long.
Maybe that could be it because you defected to the Steiner brothers.
But now, me and Mike Rotunda, World Wrestling Entertainment's World Tag Team Champions. Hello.
I mean, how many occasions too? We don't even know. Some of them were switches on house shows. I can't even tell how many times you guys were champion there. I know it was like 3 times at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, you and Mike, what a great tag team combination you guys made. And brother, we've got some crazy moments here that we're going to be talking about this week as we go through these notes. However, before we get to them, I wanted to mention to our listeners something I've been talking to you about a little bit offline, that I'm trying out something new. In case you did not see the video online, I, Marcus D'Angelo, am officially training to be a wrestler with the amazing trainers of the greatest wrestling brand in Pittsburgh, International Wrestling Cartel, so I can get even more perspective on what it takes to be a performer in the business, like the legendary talents I have the pleasure of working with, like Ted. IWC has trained performers like Britt Baker and Wardlow from AEW and so many more huge names. I couldn't be more lucky to be working with them. We're going to be filming my experience in the ring and sharing it with everybody out there. So stay tuned for updates on that. Ted, as
man, I can't wait to critique that.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I want to. If I'm going to do this, I want to be good at it. Ted, if you were to give me, as your podcast partner and your friend, some advice, a 37-year-old new parent, what advice would you give to me?
Don't do it.
That's the advice my wife gave too.
Oh gosh. Yeah, well, I mean, just be careful, buddy. You know, be careful. It's kind of like, you know, there's all kinds. I remember when I was playing football, you know, and I thought I was in shape. And I can't remember what it was they wanted us to do. I know. I was going, this was when I was a freshman in high school, and I was at an all-boy Catholic high school called Creighton Prep. You know, you've heard of Creighton University?
Yes.
Well, this is Creighton Prep. And all of the instructors at Creighton Prep are Jesuit priests.
Mm.
They are like drill instructors. I mean, no, anyway, but it's all boys. So, I mean, the competition, oh my gosh. So, you know, so I went out of football, and I went in. It's the only year that I had the opportunity to try amateur wrestling. Like my dad, I mean, my dad was a national champion, but it was the only opportunity for me because after we left Nebraska, you know, and we went to Amarillo, it was that summer that my dad passed away, and I had to finish school in this little high school in Arizona. And that's, you know, and they didn't know what amateur wrestling was. But I remember I thought because I was just coming out of football, I said, oh man, I said, I'm ahead of the game here. I'm going to be in a lot better shape than some of these guys. Oh my gosh. I didn't know what being in shape was like until I tried that. I mean, it's when you wrestle, like if you wrestle somebody, you use every fiber in your body. I mean, it's like when you get out on the mat and the referee goes, go. I mean, both guys are straining for position. It's incredible. And that, no wonder the matches are only like, what are they? 9 minutes to 3 minute. I can't remember what it is now.
It is something like that. And yeah, man, it's look, wrestling, whether it's amateur or professional wrestling, it's a workout like none other. You know, in preparation for this, I've known about this opportunity for a while. So I've started to train and do cardio. And I'm like, okay, like my cardio is pretty good. I think I'm going to be fine. Brother, they had me in the ring this past Monday, and I was just doing some transitions. Now I did it probably 10 times in a row, but it was a lockup, go behind, schoolboy was the thing that they had me doing. Yeah. They had me do that about 10 times in a row. After the last one, I'm like, okay, I am exhausted. Man, it just takes a lot of energy out of you. And to your point, you're kind of using all the muscles in your body. Yeah. So,
I mean, who was I talking to? I'm trying to think who I just was on the phone with. He says, I'm getting older, fatter, and something else. And I said, ditto. Me too.
It takes
there is no way. I mean, you couldn't pay me enough to get in the ring and do that now.
Man,
well,
there's opportunities out there, Ted.
Everybody's got a price.
Glad you said that. Ted is actually booked for WrestleMania weekend. I got him in a match. He's going to do a cage match. I'm just kidding. That's not happening. However, if you are in the Pittsburgh or the surrounding area, make sure you don't miss the IWC show tomorrow as this podcast comes out. It's in Elizabeth, Pennsylvania. It's a show celebrating 23 years of IWC. It's going to be a big one, and you can be there live or watch it live through Triller or IWC Network. It will also be in Wheeling, West Virginia next weekend, April 5th. And another huge show on April 27th, the Superstar Showdown 5, which I will actually be present at. So come out, come say hi to me and all the stars of IWC, and you can get details at iwcwrestling.com.
Wow, man. Wheeling, West Virginia. I haven't been there in a long time.
Any good memories out of Wheeling?
Yeah.
All right, lay one on me. I got to hear it.
I can't remember.
It must have been a really good memory then. You were out having some fun.
No, it was a good place to wrestle.
Man, a passionate audience down there, I know. And I know that IWC runs it a lot, and they have a lot of fun down there. So go out of your way to check it out. Again, iwcwrestling.com. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's get into our notes here. We're talking about Money Inc. And coming out of SummerSlam 1992 in Wembley Stadium, the September 21st Observer was claiming that you and IRS would likely be breaking up soon following the loss at SummerSlam in Wembley. Obviously, you and Mike would remain together, for whatever, like a year or so after this. But was there ever any talk of you going back to being a singles wrestler over the course of the run?
No, it was kind of like by that time, I had been there, and again, what year was this? It's 92.
This is 92, and we're going into 93.
Going into 92, and I had been with them since 87.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done the singles thing. You took it as far as we could take it. I mean, the thing about wrestling is you got to move things around. I mean, it's like you can't come in and be the top guy all the time because, after a while, it's like, okay, we've seen him. You stay there, you stay visible, now, but you're not the main event every night. You move down a couple notches, and then as time goes by, they can do something and move you back up. And that's how they usually do it.
And let me say, during this era, there's not that many titles. The tag team titles are one of the big featured ones. And so, being a tag team wrestler during this time, not a bad thing. Like, you're still pretty high on the card.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Bret Hart is going to win the WWF Championship from Ric Flair on 10/12 in Saskatoon. Bret Hart this is him winning his first ever WWF Championship. We know what Bret Hart would go on to become, and I know that you certainly endorsed him as a champion. But here in late 1992, when he's getting the nod, were you at all surprised to see that he was getting this spot?
A little bit, but not because he wasn't capable. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of speculation there. Again, Pat Patterson was Vince's right-hand man, and Vince took a lot of advice from Pat and got a lot of good advice from him. I would say that maybe because of Pat's influence on Vince, in terms of, why Bret might get the title, and they don't have to, because I know at the beginning, Vince, all he had on his mind were, like great big muscled up guys.
Well, we've got this from the October 26th Observer. The tag team title change with Ted DiBiase and IRS winning the straps from Earthquake and Typhoon took place on 11/13 in Saskatchewan. The match was coupled with the expected babyface turn of the Nasty Boys. So coming out of this, you guys are champions again, and now you're ready to start working with the Nasty Boys, including a match at Survivor Series 1992, where Money Inc. will be paired with the Beverly Brothers against the Natural Disasters and the Nasty Boys. So yourself and Mike are more technical wrestlers, and the Nasty Boys are brawlers. Under those circumstances, do you just cater to the brawling type style, or how do you do it?
You got to, you got to do what they can do, but by the same token, it's kind of like, if two guys that are just brawlers are working with two guys that are, can go, that can wrestle some, then I guess there's a fine line in there. I mean, you don't. I'm not going to give up being a wrestler to just go like crazy and just do stupid stuff.
Right. Yeah, it puts you in a weird spot because it's like, great guys, but there's only so much that they can do out there.
Yeah.
So it's, you're not going to have a Ricky Steamboat kind of match with those guys.
No.
So yeah, it's probably a bit of a compromise, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you and Mike are going to be married to the Nasty Boys through the end of the year and into 1993. With the contrasting styles in the ring, was it frustrating to be paired with a team like that, or were you okay with it?
It worked out real well because those guys were respectful and they listened. I mean, we being the heels, we called it all, and they understood it. Plus, Mike and I are both, I think, a little older than them.
Okay, so they were willing to just kind of let you guys drive.
Sure.
Good.
Well, and they had no choice.
Now, it's, the whole calling a match thing. I know that ordinarily the heel does it, but you've also got to kind of allow somebody with more experience the opportunity to call the match. Or how does it work? Like, is it communicated ahead of time?
Absolutely. I mean, I could be a heel, but if I get in the ring with Terry Funk, I'm going to shut up and do exactly what I'm told. And the guys like that, Murdoch, Carl Cox, so, all those guys that were actually, not so much Terry and his brother, but there was a few guys that were older that were still like the generation that my father was part of. And some of those guys, when I first got in the business, I knew just to shut up and do what I was told, and I did.
Now, what about when you step into the ring with a guy like Jake, for example? He's about the same age as you, has been working about as long as you are, and I know that Jake loves calling matches.
Yeah.
So, who would it come to?
Well, it was almost like it was like a joint venture, so to speak. It was kind of like Jake's one of those guys that I had all the confidence in, and it's kind of like. You call it, I call it, doesn't matter. And we always gelled well together. We did.
Yourself and IRS will both be in the Royal Rumble in 1993, but you won't have an actual match there. Ted, does it change your payoff if you're in the Rumble itself as opposed to having a match at the event?
I would think so. Yeah.
Like less money, presumably?
Obviously. Well, yeah. I mean, because, you're gonna get, everybody gets paid for the Rumble, but if and everybody that is in the Rumble and also has a match, they should get a little more. So
because it's the thought being that there's like a lot of resting inside of the Rumble, and you're not having an actual match. You can kind of hide a little bit in there and get in the corner and all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but the other aspect of that is who are the last guys in the ring? That means a lot. And I can't even remember how that one went, but
Yokozuna wound up winning that one. You lasted in there for over 20 minutes, so you were in there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I don't know, like, you're going from single star to now you're in a tag team. Now it's like you don't have a match on the event. Would you say that you're frustrated at all, or happy to be doing what you're doing?
I was happy to be doing what I was doing. I mean, if I had seen it greatly affecting my paycheck, I mean, I might have had something to say, but I was fine with it.
Coming out of the Rumble, we get an unforgettable angle at Monday Night Raw as Brutus Beefcake makes his return to the company and gets a singles match with you. Let's have a look at the final moments of this one.
Brutus has embarrassed, let's tell it like it is, has embarrassed Ted DiBiase.
No, totally embarrassed the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. It's been all Beefcake.
And you hear the chant Irwin, which he does not like at all. Irwin R. Schuster on the outside.
Oh no! That's it, the referee saw it right there. I'm just glad that was to his back right there.
That could very well have been an intentional disqualification. I believe it was.
Absolutely.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake may have won this matchup as a result of a disqualification, but I'm sure he doesn't feel like a winner right now. it certainly has taken its toll on Beefcake.
Beefcake, yeah, you're right about that, but I'll tell you what, he would have pinned him anyway.
Yes, Brutus the Barber Beefcake had the momentum over Ted DiBiase until Owen R. Shyster came out. Nonetheless, it'll be a victory in the record book for Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and we'll be back as we continue. Wait a minute, let's stay with this.
Hey,
Beefcake is back on his feet, and DiBiase right.
you lost the match. Get out of the ring.
Wait a minute, DiBiase has Beefcake hooked. No, please. It looks like Shyster's gonna take a run. Take a run at Beefcake. Please don't let this happen. Jimmy Hart even trying to say no. The official cannot allow this to happen. No, don't let this happen. Shyster with a briefcase, and Beefcake is still hurt. He's gonna take a run at him. Please don't let it happen. Boy, look at that. Jimmy Hart shoved to the outside. Now the official has to get in between. Come on, do your job, referee. Do your job. Oh, no. No, I can't believe that happened.
Okay, so yourself and IRS destroy the surgically repaired face of Brutus Beefcake. Ted, what do you remember about all this?
I think it was they were parasailing or something, weren't they?
Yeah,
and that's how the accident happened. And I can't remember what it was that hit him in the face. It basically took his face off or crushed his face. I mean, I think they had to reconstruct his skull.
Yeah, it was knees. Somebody was parasailing and their knees collided with his face.
Yeah. And, so yeah, it was rough going for him. And we, I can remember when having this match, I wanted to be careful, not to hit him in the head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, of course, with the thing at the end, when they came with it, obviously, he gets his hands up and he protected himself. And it was like, it's kind of like, did the briefcase really hit him or not?
When you're stepping into the ring with a guy who suffered an injury like that, and you said it, you wanted to be careful and protect him. Like, I mean, it's got to change the way that you throw punches, the way that you do almost everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, but he was, and that's the other thing. It's like even throwing punches. When you throw a punch on a guy, you don't aim for his forehead, and you don't aim for his nose. It's like it's usually like a shot to this, but where you're really landing is here.
Okay.
And you just, when you do it, it's really here more than anything else. And I can remember how many times I would take I'd take his head like this, and I got him by the chin, and I would turn his head up like that, so this part was open.
Ah, okay.
Throw the punch.
Tricks of the trade.
Tricks of the trade. And I threw a pretty good punch.
You did. I think I actually just saw you on a list of best all-time working punches. So Brutus was in good hands there. Okay, let's take a minute to discuss our fantastic sponsor that is changing the lives of men everywhere. Of course, we are talking about Blue Chew. Are you ready to perform with the confidence of the $1 million man in the bedroom? Are you ready to leave your partner feeling like $1 million bucks? Are you ready to get that thing so hard you can go hunting with it? If the answer to all those questions is yes, it's time for you to give Blue Chew a try. Blue Chew can help increase your performance and regain that old confidence where it counts the very most. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so that you can plan ahead or be ready when that opportunity springs up. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. the best part of it, it's all done online. You can forget about those visits to the doctor's office, no more weird, awkward, uncomfortable conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy anymore. It comes right to you. Blue Chew's tablets are made right here in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. But you know the drill, guys. There's not going to be anything discreet about your package. Men everywhere have never been more excited to see their mail carrier arrive, because when your package arrives, your package arrives. Listen, I know what your next question is. Will it actually work? Why don't you try it for free and find out for yourself? Something free from the $1 Million Man? That's right. You can try it right now for free. All you have to do is pay $5 shipping. That's it. Place your order now and give your partner a very pleasant surprise. Women are attracted to confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you confidence where it counts. Don't wait any longer. Time to chew it and do it. Take advantage of our special deal. Again, you can try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code EGAP at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code EGAP, and receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring Everybody's Got a Pod. Jimmy Hart, he's going to turn babyface after this attack, and Hulk Hogan will make his return on February 22nd to set up the big match at WrestleMania 9. Hogan returns, and you're getting the nod to be on the opposing side of him. I mean, this had to feel like a pretty good spot, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course.
So the March 15th Observer will report that you'll suffer a herniated disc. It doesn't say when, but I'm seeing where you're working against the Nasty Boys on house shows at this time. And this is months and months ahead of before you'll suffer the injury in Japan that's going to end your career with a disc. Do you recall how exactly you suffered this injury on the way to WrestleMania 9?
No. The doctor said, what started happening is, I started getting this burning sensation, and it was like in my it was in my arm, and it was kind of like it was kind of like there's nothing I could do to get that fire to go out. And what the doctor said was that I had herniated a disc, actually C5 and C6 in my neck, and it was because of that the pain was being caused by the disc, laying on that nerve. Mm. And so what do? You go in and they took two discs out and they fused them together, and that was it. And it wasn't until they did that I didn't do that for a long time.
Okay, so this may have actually been kind of part of what would ultimately end your career. You just didn't have it dealt with at this time because you have a big high profile match coming up.
Yeah. And so I just, you do the best you can do. And then once I had that surgery, I think that was it.
Now, Hogan's going to return to action at a house show in Lakeland, Florida on March 19th. And despite your injury, these herniated discs, you work the match, which is being viewed as a warm-up of sorts for Hulk. Ted, how important was it for you to work this match, even though you were dealing with this injury?
Well, I mean, okay, I was dealing with an injury, but of course, and a lot of that is now. I don't think I would have been quite so anxious to jump in the ring. And again, this is not okay. Dealing with Hulk Hogan is a lot different than dealing with, say, the Warrior. Mm. The Warrior. I just don't think he cared about anybody.
He'd have been reckless despite your injury.
Yeah, and that's just it. For the first rule of thumb is protect your opponent. That's the unspoken word is, if something's gonna, even try to sacrifice yourself, because if both guys are thinking that way, less injuries are going to happen.
And you felt like Hogan was one of those guys that was going to take good care of you out there, despite
Oh,
your
yeah, absolutely. I never worried about it.
How do you protect yourself and your new neck injury when you're in the ring? Just not taking quite as many bumps, maybe?
Yeah, I guess you try, obviously you don't want to get dropped on your head.
Right.
But and taking a flat back bump is not that hard. It's kind of like, but I think that's what the doctors were saying was, this happened over a period of time, and I think Jake had the same thing.
Mm-hmm. He did.
And I think there's been several guys have it, and it's basically from hitting the mat, because you do this.
Yeah.
You tuck your chin, and so where you're landing is right there, where your cervical, whatever, where your neck meets your
like your spine.
Yeah, meets your spine. C5, C6, right there. And so I had both those discs removed, and they replaced them with. They do it with something artificially now, but they replaced mine with bone chips from my hip.
Man, fortunately, you also had Mike to rely on out there, and he was a good bumper. So I'm guessing that you would probably be on the apron a little bit more often during these matches after that.
Yeah. Just do what you can.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to Mania. It's at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, and you and Mike are on 5th against Hogan and Beefcake. Before we get to your match, I wanted to mention that Jim Ross is going to make the jump from WCW to WWF, and he'll make his debut here at WrestleMania in a toga to go with the Caesar's Palace thing. Man, Jim is considered by most folks to be the best commentator of all time. Would you agree with that assessment? Is Jim the best ever?
Yeah. He was good. And again, Jim Ross started with Cowboy Bill Watts.
Yes, sir.
And so he learned from the best too.
And he's a guy that you're very familiar with at this time. So, for him to come in, it probably had to feel like a bit of a reunion. Would you say that you're close friends with JR outside of the ring?
Well, yeah. I mean, like not bosom buddies, but yeah. I mean, he's one of those. I mean, it's not somebody that you. Again, wrestling is wrestling, and you sometimes you don't see people for a long time. But when you see him again, it's like you saw him yesterday, and you just pick up where you left off.
You ever go drinking with JR?
I can't remember.
You might have then.
Yeah, maybe that's why I can't remember.
I know he loves his Moscow mules, so
yeah,
ring a bell. All right, well, let's get to your match. The tag team titles are on the line, and you're facing the biggest box office attraction in the history of wrestling in his return to WrestleMania. Let's have a look at this one.
Gets there, makes the tag.
You heard that tag.
And Beefcake tag Hulk Hogan.
But the referee didn't see the tag. Who cares?
I doubt if he saw either.
Beefcake's out of there. We need him out of there. Hogan is back.
Big right hand. Hogan now becoming dominant with DiBiase. Irish whip. Caught him with a foot right to the face. Catches up. Coming in. Right in the lower abdomen.
Lower abdomen.
He's got that.
That was bargain basement.
Oh, he's
He
using
used the titanium thing. Fire with fire. There's no referee. There's no referee. Jimmy Hart, you get out of there, you little miserable runt.
A referee is down. Jimmy Hart trying to.
Here goes the tag team title.
What is Hart doing?
Who knows what?
He's turning his back.
No.
Drag jackal up on the referee.
2, 3. That doesn't count. That does not count.
Jimmy Hart has counted down the champion.
But who knows? It may count. I don't know what they're doing here right now.
Well, Beefcake and Hogan have got the tag team championship belt Here comes another official.
I'm not sure about this. What kind of a calling are they going to rule on this? Let's see this. There we go. There we go. He's raised a hand of Money Inc.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the referee's decision. The winner of this bout as a result of a disqualification. And still, World Wrestling Federation Champion, Money in
Like they told me last night, the money's in the bank.
All right, so some hijinks there with Brutus's mask, and you guys retain the belts against Hogan and Brutus. So pretty fun stuff. I don't know what the hell the Jimmy Hart was doing with his jacket thing. It was pretty weird.
I don't know either.
What do you think about a finish like that at a show like WrestleMania? Good?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like an anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't remember where we went from there. Is what I'm saying. It's not that so long ago.
I know that you and Mike would go on to work with the Steiners, so maybe that's kind of what Vince was eyeing, is like wanting to keep you guys kind of strong going into that. And Hogan's got a little something coming up here that we're going to talk about here in a second. Meltzer would point out that you look larger than Hogan here, who has really slimmed down since the Hulkamania days due to the steroid situation that the WWF was dealing with. What did you think when you first saw this more trim, lean version of the Hulkster?
I didn't see that much difference. I mean, it's like, okay, he's not as huge as he used to be, but he's still a big guy. And in good shape. So, I didn't really, I didn't think that much. I mean, it was like, it wasn't one of those, oh, wow. I didn't look at it that way.
And he's still like very muscular, but yeah, if you side-by-side photo of him from like 1988 and there in 1993, ooh, brother, he trimmed way down.
Yeah.
He's been gone for a while doing his thing in Hollywood. When you get back into the ring with him, are you noticing the ring rust, or is he blowing up more quickly, or is he riding the apron for the most part?
No. He was, I didn't notice a difference.
Wow.
I really didn't, and of course, being Hulk, if there's, and especially in a tag match situation, if there's going to be a hot tag, he's the one that's going to get it.
Gotta be,
and that means that his partner, and like again, Beefcake did the body of the selling. That's the deal. Is you work the one guy over, and he finally makes what they call the hot tag, and then here comes the Hulkster, and he beats you both up. And I think that's what they just did.
Well, Ted, I won't keep you too much longer. I know you've got to go catch a plane out there to Indianapolis soon. But while we're here, I do have to ask you, Mania is going to end in kind of controversial fashion with two WWF title changes in about 2 minutes. Yokozuna is going to defeat Bret Hart, and then himself will lose to Hulk Hogan in an unscheduled match. So Hogan works with you guys, then he comes out after Hart's match with Yokozuna, and he's going to defeat Yokozuna very quickly. And a lot of fans seem to believe that Hogan politicked himself into the spot, and Bret Hart feels that Hogan pressured Vince into giving him the belt. In my mind, it was likely just a business move on Vince's part because Hogan is a proven draw and he's returned to the company. But, I know that you're buddies with Hulk and you've got a good relationship with Bret. But what are your thoughts on the matter? Do you feel that it was some kind of a political thing by Hogan?
I don't really. No, I don't see that. I don't see that. It was like it's a way for Hulk Hogan to become the champion again without having to wrestle Bret Hart and beating Bret. That's what I think.
Okay, so they just wanted to get the belt on Hulk.
Again, because Bret was the champion going into that first match, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So to me, it was a way to get the belt off of Bret and back on Hogan without them having to wrestle each other.
So Bret claims that there were actually photos taken after this of he and Hogan kind of wrestling over the belt, and the plan that he was told was that it was supposed to be he and Hogan working at I believe it was King of the Ring in 1993. Ultimately, Hogan would wind up working with Yokozuna, and Bret says that it was just changed last minute by Hogan, who said, "quote unquote," that Bret was not in his league. Now, I don't know how true any of that is. Certainly, I wasn't there, and Bret's account is his account. But all that being said, Ted, do you feel like a Hulk Hogan versus Bret Hart main event, babyface versus babyface for the title, would that have been a big draw?
It's hard for me to say. I mean, I don't know. It's wow.
Kind of a tough one, right?
Never really thought about it. I mean, I have all the respect in the world for Bret in terms of, and he and I have worked well together. And
it's kind of two conflicting styles when you look at Bret Hart and Hogan. Bret Hart is very much a technical wrestler, but not a huge character guy. Bret Hart was never going to cut like the big, fancy promo. He wasn't like a cartoon character. On the other side, you've got Hulk Hogan, who looks like he's straight out of a comic book and acts like he's out of a cartoon on his promos. So it's like very conflicting styles. I don't know. Sometimes opposites make for a good match.
Well, yeah, and again, see, that's I grew up in the business, and I understand Bret Hart's style because that was like a style that, it's kind of like, this is back when we weren't, we understood that most people, watch wrestling and say, okay, it couldn't possibly be real, but we make it as realistic as we can. I think it would make a decent match, but you're going to have to work to Hulk's style. I think, because Hulkster was not a guy who because I mean I worked with him, but I didn't spend a lot of time with a wrist lock or a headlock or anything like that. Most of the time it was battling. And what I did at the first of a match with him is I just put over his size. Like I'd lock up with him and he would just shove me off, and I'd hit the corner like, whoa, and then lock up, and I would like top wrist lock him, and he would just power out of it. And then I'm shaking my head going, what do I do with this guy? And so then we lock up, and I back him into a corner, and the referee says break, and I go to break, and then I sucker punch him, and I take over on him. And then I just beat him down, and I beat him down. But every time I try to pin him, he kicks out. Mm-hmm. And finally I go for something, whatever it is, and I miss. And then when I turn around, I look, he's, and I'd have him on his knees, and I'd hit him, and he would do that thing where he just went
the Hulk up.
And then he hulks up, and then when he hulks up, it's all over. He does his thing.
So yeah, Bret Hart would have certainly had to adjust his style to work with Hogan. And for perspective too, Hogan is used to coming off this really big run where he was like Rocky, essentially, where it was just one monster heel after another. Hogan looks like he's down and he can't beat him. Then of course he beats him and he's on to the next. It seriously is a formula just like they used in the Rocky movies. And now, it's the possibility of working with a guy who's not a monster heel. He's a smaller technical baby face. Now, look, I know that you weren't there for any of these conversations, but I do know that you're a smart guy who's been in wrestling for a long time. Would you say that Hulk Hogan took a look at Bret Hart and his size and said, that doesn't work for me, brother?
There's no way of knowing, but maybe. Yeah, maybe. Because they didn't really have a run.
Never. I think they had maybe one match in WCW, and it was like some underwhelming, like 3-minute thing.
Yeah. And of course, I don't know if there's I've never heard that, but was there any kind of personality conflict?
You know, I know that Bret Hart was always fine with Hulk and felt like they had a good relationship. They'd worked together in like Japan and elsewhere over the course of their careers before this. And so according to the story, I think that Bret said that once he won the championship, Hulk started treating him differently, where he was like a little bit more cold with him. And then after this, you know, apparently Vince told Bret that Hulk had come to Vince and said, I don't want to work with him. He's not in my league. Something to that effect. Now, again, you know, Bret Hart has got his own perspective on things. Neither of us were there, so we don't know how, you know, how legitimate these claims are. But when you hear stuff like that, and then you kind of start putting the pieces together, like I have, like, well, Hogan was used to working with big guys, very different style. This is like the new generation type wrestler, and Hulk Hogan's the quote unquote old generation. It does kind of make you stop and think, like, man, you know, why didn't those two wrestle?
Yeah, and I never thought about it, and I don't know the answer to any of those questions. But I mean, I respect both the guys. I mean, you know, I have a world of respect for Bret. I mean, and Bret and I we had great matches together. But again, you know, I was big, but I was big enough, you know, like here's Hulk, and maybe here's Bret, and here's me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was a big guy. I mean, 6'4", and you know, and Bret wasn't. Bret was maybe, I don't even know if he's 6 foot. But
right. So maybe that made you a little bit more attractive to Hulk because it looks like you could put him in danger, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing makes you wonder. But you know, obviously you weren't there to hear any of it, so I won't hold your feet to the fire. That's gonna wrap us up for this week. We are not done talking about IRS and Money Inc. So stay tuned for the conversation to continue here on the show. Next week, as I mentioned, we are celebrating the 35-year anniversary of WrestleMania 5 with an episode all about the big night in Atlantic City. And Ted, wouldn't you know it, you're back there with Brutus Beefcake again. So you crushed his face this time. Now you're going to be working with him at WrestleMania in what seems like a cold match. We're going to talk about that next week. And just like we did with the Royal Rumble 1989 episode, I'm also discussing WrestleMania 5 on my shows with Jake Roberts and Hacksaw Jim Duggan next week. So make sure you tune into those shows to really get the full story behind the big event from 3 Hall of Fame perspectives 35 years later. Ted, I'm really looking forward to covering that one with you, brother.
Me too, man. Thank you. As always, everybody. I love you. I'm glad you're fans, but you always have to remember one very important thing, and that's this. Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
We'll see you guys next week right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.